Yeah, so do not do this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Sarah here. Today we're going to be doing a complete manga magazine reading video. This time our target is Jump Plus. So this is Weekly Shonen Jump / I guess Shueisha's digital shonen manga magazine. This video is going to be a little bit different than the previous two installations of the complete manga magazine read through. If you just want to skip to the series that I'm going to be reviewing, feel free to just go right ahead. But if you want the actual explanation, then I'm going to say it real quick. Because Jump Plus is a digital manga magazine, there are essentially no limits to the number of series, the quality of series, and the publication schedule of the series in this magazine, which means there are way more series currently running in Jump Plus than there would be in a print magazine. And they are given a little bit more leeway on like the art style, the popularity, and the publication schedule, which totally makes sense. And I think there's a lot of good that comes out of that, but there's also a lot of bad series that comes out of that. The Wikipedia for Jump Plus says that there are currently 90 series, 90, running in the magazine. I could not find 90 series, like even in just like a list of titles. There is no place on the internet that I looked through that could provide that complete list to me. So I'm not even sure if 90 is an accurate number. Maybe it's just not up to date, because a lot of the lists of titles that I found included series that have since completed. So that does not count as currently running titles in the magazine. Secondly, there are 8 series currently running in Jump Plus that are just cross-posted from other manga magazines. We're not going to be talking about those cross-posted series in this video because those are titles that I believe really belong to those other magazines. For example, like Kaiju number 8 Relax, that's straight up a Saikyo Jump title. That is not a Jump Plus title. Yeah, so they don't count. So subtract those 8. And then there's also the additional hurdle that the way to read Jump Plus titles in the West officially is through the Manga Plus app run by Shueisha. And the Manga Plus app does not contain every single title available in Japanese. So it contains a good amount of them, but it does not contain all of them. There are 25 series currently running in Jump Plus that are not available on Manga Plus to read officially digitally in English. Some of these titles are licensed in English for physical releases. So for example, if you were to go to a bookstore, you might be able to find some of these, but digitally they're not available. Of those 25 that are not available, 8 of them are crossovers, so we won't be talking about those going forward. And then I've put the list on screen for you so you can see all the titles, but the red ones are series that I do not even believe are readable. So a lot of these have like artistic or writing issues, and I frankly do not think they're worth your time, and they're also not worth my time to talk about. And then the yellow highlighted ones are a series that I think some people might enjoy, but I did not. For example, of the titles that are yellow, Kururu Kill Me is the only series that was on my TBR because I found the premise intriguing. The premise is like this guy hires his crush to try to kill him for an hour every day because she's a famous assassin or something like that. But this one kind of let me down. It was very dated, early 2010s art style, kind of Death Note-esque in both art and humor, and also kind of fan servicey. Not really what I was looking for in the series. There are also 2 Hetalia manga, which is crazy, in the year of our Lord 2026. And then Chain Soldier, this one is available in English physically as well as Kururu Kill Me, but Chain Soldier is a fan service series, solid enough art, just not my thing. World's End Harem Fantasia is a straight up ecchi series. Again, not my thing. It kind of weirds me out how the male protagonist looks heavily underage, and also there's so much SA romanticization in it. Obviously that's, you know, the standard norm, but not for me. And then the last series is Fire Emblem Engage. I think this one does deserve a English physical at the very least, so Fire Emblem collectors can have it in their collection. Manga adaptations of video games are always hit or miss. I actually don't know if I've ever seen like a really good one before. For example, the manga adaptation of my favorite video game ever is like the worst piece of media I have ever read in the past 10, 20 years of my life. However, I still own 2 sets of physical copies of it, one in English and one in Japanese. So it's just like, even if it's bad, collectors will still want it. The art style looks fine enough. I'm just not a Fire Emblem fan, so I can't appreciate it or judge it as good as a fan would be able to. Going forward, there are a total of 52 series that are officially available to read in English digitally on the Manga Plus application. The Weekly Shonen Jump one really focuses on Weekly Shonen Jump titles, but the Manga Plus app contains titles from a whole bunch of different manga magazines. So just because it's in Manga Plus does not mean it is a Shonen Jump Plus title. Manga Plus also contains titles from Weekly Shonen Jump and other seinen magazines that Shueisha runs. Some of them are also cross-posted on the Weekly Shonen Jump app like Chainsaw Man, but out of these 52 officially available series, 15 of them are unreadable. Obviously, I'm not your papa. Like, if you want to go check these out, be my guest. There's no one stopping you, but I'm trying to save you a little bit of time. 52 even is a very overwhelming number, and your time has better uses. A lot of these have art issues, writing issues, and a lot of them are just straight up painful to look at. And then there's another couple of series that are highlighted in yellow here on the screen. These are a series that I think someone would like. That someone is just not me. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't typically look for in here, like rom-coms and gag series. Just to highlight a couple, I guess Shunrai Table Tennis is a moe table tennis battle action series. Fine enough, I'm just not a moe person usually. Girl Meets Rock is a high school light music club series, which is fine enough, just not usually my thing. The Creepy and Freaky is like an indie short. They're not for coma, but it's pretty in that vein. The chapters are very short. The art style is cute enough. The whole point is the short chapters are explorations of little creepy concepts that are crossed with cute stuff. So there's cute animals, but then they make creepy faces, and that's kind of like the whole gimmick. There's a gag series in here about a Roman guy who goes into a sauna and then he gets warped into modern day Japan into like a bathhouse, which is fun enough. The Martial King is Boichi's. I think it's currently on indefinite hiatus, but it's Boichi's current series. I just personally do not like Boichi's art style, which is why it is yellow on here. I'm sorry, he's very technically skilled. It's just some of his faces and the way he draws things is kind of weird and kind of horny. Not really my kind of thing. And then last on here that I'm going to talk about is Drama Queen. Did anyone else feel like this series was weirdly a little bit potentially racist? Just very strange vibes, unlikable protagonists, and super, super odd conceptually. Like, are you really trying to tell me that the message of this series is that immigrants are terrible leeches on society and you should cannibalize them. Is that really the message that you want to be conveying in your manga? I don't know about this one, guys. Very strange. The 25 non-manga plus titles plus the 52 manga plus titles equals 77 total series that we found for the Jump Plus currently ongoing list. Those 77 minus the 8 crossover titles is 69 titles total. If we are to add together the 23 unreadable series plus the 24 dropped series, that equals 47 series that I don't think have earned a rating for me. Like, I'm not going to rate them. Frankly, I think there are better uses of my time and your time than to talk about them. So if we're just to subtract 47 from our 69 total series, that equals 22 series that I will be talking about going forward and that we are going to be giving a number rating to. 22 is much more doable than the hypothetical 90, which some of those 90 may or may not even exist. 23 is the number of series currently running in Weekly Shonen Jump, and I'm going to say that 23 in quotation marks because there are some series on the Jump roster that are not currently running in it because they're on hiatus, like Hunter x Hunter and Burn the Witch. 22 is the number of titles we are going to talk about starting now. This one is called Smiley and Lively, Your Girl Happy. This one is a gag comedy series following a girl whose name is Happy in a couple of short, kind of comedic gag comedy pages each chapter, how she tries to be happy and upbeat despite things going terribly wrong in her life. This one is the concept is concepting. Like, they had an idea and they executed it pretty decently for the idea. Solid enough. The next series in the 3-star category is Make the Exorcist Fall in Love. This series is very bizarre to me. I'm not exactly sure if I want to get into the specifics because the specifics are kind of upsetting. The art is solid, however, my problem is with the writing for this series, in which it takes very sensitive topics and it kind of just tosses them in the story in a haphazard way, and it's not romanticizing those kinds of things. I'm talking about religious trauma, CSA, and like the sexualization of underage characters. It's not romanticizing those types of things, but it's including them in a way that's it feels a little bit juvenile. It feels a little bit like it's not treating those very serious topics with the respect that they deserve. This is the kind of story writing that you would expect from a middle schooler writing a story. They just think like, oh, wouldn't it be horrible if this thing happened? That's very shocking. Let's throw it in the series. I wouldn't have read beyond the first couple chapters of the series if it hadn't been a series that was on my reading challenge for January. So because it was one of the titles, I gave it like a couple more volumes because I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt, and those couple of volumes did not really change my mind. In fact, they introduced like a lolly character, like one of that character's first lines after appearing on screen was talking about impregnation. It's not romanticized, but it's also just so deeply uncomfortable to even read. I think this is a very strange series, and I frankly do not really recommend it. And then the next in the 3-star category is Chainsaw Man Part 2. I was going to say this might be a hot take, but I don't think it's a hot take anymore. In fact, I think it is very much the common sentiment that Chainsaw Man Part 2 is just not very good right now. Art is a massive part of manga, you cannot simply say that just because the writing's good, you can excuse the flaws in the art when the art looks at times like first pass line work sketches. The line work and the art in general for Chainsaw Man has deteriorated massively since the beginning of part 2, and it has gotten to the point where it's just frankly very painful to read. If I was not invested in Denji and the story of the series as a whole, I would have definitely dropped this series by now. Actually, the only reason why I rated Chainsaw Man Part 1 5 stars back when I read it, like, oh my gosh, has it been nearly half a decade? It really feels like it's been nearly half a decade ago, was because I thought at the time that I finished the series that that was the complete series. I thought that was the ending, and I was very happy with that ending. And now I'm terrified that Chainsaw Man Part 2 is not going to end in like a happy or satisfying way for Denji or any of the characters that we have grown to care about. If Chainsaw Man ends badly, this is probably going to be the final work I will read from this creator. Just a lot of unfortunate stuff. Like, do I understand on a base level what Fujimoto is trying to do with Denji's story arc? Like, yes, obviously I understand that his fascination with things like boobs and sex is representative of his longing for human connection. Guys, it's not rocket science. I get it. That does not make it any less painful, right? If Chainsaw Man Part 2 ends bleakly, it's going to be one of those things where I take a look back at it and go, so what was the point of all this suffering? Does Fujimoto just want to take Denji, who is very dog-coded, and just continually beat him black and blue? Because at this point, it's kind of what it's feeling like. I have enjoyed Fujimoto's previous one-shots. Like, I really liked Look Back, and I really liked Goodbye Eri, but I haven't read Fire Punch, so I'm just very scared how this is gonna go. But I guess we're on the train until the end. I don't know how close the end is. I'm praying that it ends well. I just want an ending with a little bit of closure and a little bit of hopium. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but seriously, please. Okay, so getting into the 4-star series, Shiba Inu Rooms is one of those manga that's like a pet person manga. So there's a whole bunch of these for cat people, where it's like, if you're a cat owner, here's this cute manga where cats do funny, silly little cat stuff. This is that for dog owners. It was very cute and solid enough. I read it for a while when it first started cross-posting on the Weekly Shonen Jump application. The next series is Kindergarten Wars. I read like a good amount of this manga. I caught up to it originally a couple years ago when I first read Sakamoto Days, and caught up to that, and I wanted more assassin stuff. This is a gag comedy series about assassins following this main character who works as a bodyguard at a kindergarten where the kids who go there are like the children of famous and influential people, like politicians. So assassins are sent to go kill the kids, and then the workers at the kindergarten kill the assassins. I just kind of wanted more from this series, but it refuses to be anything but a gag series. And so once I realized that, I went, well, I can't exactly fault the series for that. It just means I'm not going to keep reading the series. There are points where they try to interject a little bit of like stakes or a little bit of emotions, but the art never kind of reflects those emotions. It never gets any less gag comedy art, and then the writing kind of very quickly moves on past that back into gag comedy. So it's just like, if you like gag comedy, I think this will be good. Just don't try to get too much more out of it. You might be a little disappointed. This one, I believe, is called the Bateren Tales. This is a very interesting, I would say, indie style manga. It feels a little bit like Western concept comics, where like kind of bizarre, unexplainable things happen and you're mostly there for the art style and the vibes. This is solid enough. A little bit of historical, religious themed horror, which is a pretty interesting combination of descriptors, but it is on indefinite hiatus at the moment, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily worth checking out. I did enjoy my time with it, and I did enjoy it, like the kind of general creepy atmosphere of the horror bits. Care for Something Sweet is a full color cooking manga. This one kind of reminds me of a webtoon. The concept is simple enough. It follows this human kid as he starts a new job as a pastry chef in the demon realm, and he kind of cooks and makes friends with the children of a particularly high demon family. The art style is very cute, the color and the foods look good. This is just like a kind of low stakes, wholesome cooking series. The next one in the 4-star category is Nightlight Hounds. This is a pretty solid mafia manga, kind of a twist on the traditional werewolf and vampire mafia thing that's pretty common. I like it solid enough. I'm just not really a mafia kind of person, and this takes itself quite seriously. I think if it had a little bit more of a comedic found family kind of focus, I would be more into it, but obviously this does what it's trying to do pretty well. The next one is Empyreal Cabinet. This one is it's a little bit difficult to describe, but at the same time, not really. I would say it's kind of a cross between Kagurabachi and Solo Leveling. Like the main character looks like an aged up Chihiro, and it's very Solo Leveling-esque in the writing, very power fantasy type stuff. The art style is quite solid, and the art quality as well, because this one is a monthly manga, but the writing just didn't really hook me. The War of Adults, this one is very shonen, very kind of middle schooler-esque. It kind of reminds me of, I don't want to necessarily say To Be Hero X, even though that is also a series that's based on social credits. It's a little bit more like Future Diary, honestly. Platinum End, maybe. It's kind of that concept that people are like battling each other because the entire world is their stage. It's a little bit difficult to describe, so I'll try my best. Essentially, this guy gets hit by a car while trying to rescue a cat that's crossing the street, and then he goes into a coma and he wakes up 15 years later or so, and he finds out that essentially the entire world has changed because the video of him saving that cat went viral on social media. And essentially a politician used that to his own advantage by basing his entire political platform off of it, and it's ushered in this era of a social credit-like system where there's cameras installed everywhere throughout the city, and people's lives are constantly being broadcast / live streamed online through these cameras on like a governmental level. It's marketed as this way to encourage good behavior through good actions, because if you know you're always on camera, then people can see that you're always doing well, and if they see you do a good thing, they can give you essentially like social credit Like if you get so many ratings for doing a good thing, then your social credit score will rise, and there's ranks to it. And if you get like to a certain amount, you have more essentially rights in society. Like if you get to a certain rank, you're able to vote. If you get to a certain rank, people will treat you with more respect. However, you can also go down in ranks, and once you like go below a certain rank, then you can't even go inside certain establishments because you're considered a lower class citizen. So very interesting concept. I think the execution, however, is a little bit bordering on juvenile at times. I think a social credit battle series tiptoes the edge of being a normal shonen series and being a little bit cringy, and I think sometimes we're getting a little bit close to the cringy side because it gets into stuff that's like, that's a little bit secondhand embarrassment. I have read the entirety of what's out of War of Adults, and I do think it's quite fascinating, but I'm not sure if I will be continuing to read the series weekly. It just kind of depends. I might give it a couple more chapters to find out, and if not, I'll just leave it for now and maybe come back to it when it's complete. Next up in the 4-star tier is Dandadan. The series is very good art-wise, and technically it's just not really a series that is exactly my taste. I'm not super a fan of the writing. I don't like drama in general the majority of the time, and I think this is kind of a little bit dramatic in the writing. I have watched both seasons of the anime, and I think instead of reading the manga, I will just continue with the anime adaptation. Next is WITCHRIV. This one is pretty good. It's been making the rounds on social media. It is a little bit of a dark fantasy series. It's like witches versus social inequality again. It's very Salem witch trials-esque kind of thing, but the art's solid enough and the concept is solid enough. It's very early on. I have read the entirety of what's out so far, so we will probably continue with it and see where it goes. Hope You're Happy Lemon is a very solid shonen rom-com. I loved the initial premise a ton, and I read like a solid 4 volumes of this. I will say I could probably skip to chapter 100 and still be like in the same place relationship wise, I think, but the concept itself is very funny to me, and I do have some curiosity about where that plot is going to go, like how everything started and why it got to the point it is. But essentially the concept is this guy and this girl get into this situation where they switch bodies with each other every other day. For example, on day 1, they'll be in their own bodies, but then day 2, they'll be in each other's bodies, and then day 3, they'll be back to their own bodies. So they're just kind of trying to navigate high school and relationships and crushes and all this stuff while continuously switching bodies with each other and being in the dark about why that exactly happened. I think this is very cute, and I would be down to read more of it in the future. I just hope that there's some progression, because shonen rom-coms do have a track record of just meandering onwards without much development sometimes. The next one is Maison and the Man-Eating Apartment. This is a very interesting as a series. Definitely getting into some very quirky, kooky vibes. The writing for the series reminds me a little bit of the way Nihei writes series, or a little bit of the way Hayashida writes series. It's a little different from Hayashida, but the whole concept is this entire community of people lives inside this apartment that's a little bit reminiscent of the walled city in Kowloon generic romance, where it's just kind of dilapidated but also very strange. It's a place that defies logic and like logical boundaries. So the space will shift and it'll change, and there will be like pocket dimensions, and the way floors will connect to each other will vary. And there's also like time travel aspects, and it's just like a very strange, essentially pocket existence that they have, where everyone's kind of trapped in this apartment and they can't get out of it, and no one can really get into it, and the whole thing is kind of falling apart. It's a little bit dystopian, but also a little bit post-apocalyptic, in that you can kind of feel everything's kind of slowly starting to crumble down. And in it, we follow this kid named Maison, who is called the Landlord. It's a title that this character is given from birth, and because of it, they have an interesting power over the apartment. They're essentially like a special existence that lives within the apartment, and due to that, they're going around and they're learning more about their role as they officially take on the title of Landlord of the apartment. And you can tell that things are slowly going in a direction that I have a feeling eventually, by the end of the series, Maison is going to figure out some way to like release the apartment from its eternal torment. But for now, it's a very quirky and fun, a little bit grungy sci-fi kind of adventure. I really enjoyed this. It's not like 100% perfect, but I do look forward to the story. It's not really one of those things where you read to try to understand everything that's going on. It's just one of those things where you read for the vibes and you're kind of brought on along in the adventure with the characters. The next series I want to talk about is Mad. This one is a sci-fi, post-apocalyptic's the word. This one is about fighting aliens, but also becoming an alien in like a post-catastrophe version of the planet. We follow this guy named John. He survives constantly despite everything that goes wrong and everything that tries to bring him down, and he discovers like a kind of a reason to keep living, but also a reason to keep fighting. The art style is very indie comics. However, I did like it a lot, and I also very much did enjoy the alien fighting and the alien shifting in it. It is very solid, I think. It is definitely very unique, not traditional manga art style, but I think if you like sci-fi type of stuff and you like aliens, then definitely give it a shot. The last series in the 4-star tier is Spy Family. I think I've talked about this at length before, so I'll keep it short, but Spy Family is essentially what I consider the epitome of a 4-star series. The art is solid enough. The writing is okay. There's a lot of charm to it, and there is a little bit of something in the messaging as well. It's definitely very anti-war. It expresses that very clearly. It is impossible to read Spy Family without understanding that the series is anti-war, and it definitely takes a lot of courage for any series or any book to state its message so clearly. And I think that there's a lot of charm in it, but also it's definitely like a slice of life cutesy comedy series at heart, so it doesn't get too far into it. We still haven't really made any progress. I'm completely caught up to both Spy Family and Mad as well. While editing, I did discover one more series available in English on the Manga Plus app that's part of Shonen Jump Plus, and that is Manaka, the Human and the Slaughter Robot. This is a pretty new series, just starting this year in 2026, and there's only 4 chapters out, but so far it's actually pretty good. I think the art is very solid. It's a coming of age story. It's about a human girl that meets another girl that's half human, half slaughter robot. So she's essentially an android experiment made in a lab, and it's so far it's about the two of them kind of figuring out what it means to be human and what they want their lives to be going forward, even though both of them at the moment are quite under the influence of their parental figures, whether that's the human girl's parents that are quite strict on her for her education, or the android girl's parents who are essentially like mad scientists. I would actually continue to read this for longer, so I'm gonna give it a 4 stars for now. That's the last 4-star series. We're gonna be talking about the 5-star series now. I actually found a good number of new 5-star series during this challenge, which I'm very happy about. So the first one we're gonna be talking about is Hero Organization. This is just such a solid series. I'm not completely caught up, but it's off to a fantastic start. I would say you should give this like 1 volume. Give it 1 volume for it to charm you, and I think it really will do that. The art style is solid. The hook is solid. The narrative hook for the entire series is very solid. It is shonen, but it is shonen space robot battles. Yeah. And like the mechs look so cool. It is so sick. I'm trying to find some kind of comparison so you can get the vibe. It's kind of like a little bit To Be Hero X times Gundam times, I wouldn't say Yu-Gi-Oh, but there's definitely like some era of toy nostalgia to it. And at the same time, like Academy nostalgia. Ooh, Tiger and Bunny. I think that's not a bad way to describe it to people who would be unfamiliar, because it has like that superhero corruption side, but it also has the cool space battle side, and it has the academy side to it as well. Yeah, that's not a bad description. This was very fun, and I definitely look forward to reading more of it. I really loved the fact that they have little talking robot buddies. That is so cute and so funny. A strong setup, and I have high hopes for this going forward. The next one is called Hatori and Furuta's Extraordinary Life. This is a gag comedy slice of life. Maybe I should just say it's a comedy slice of life school series. I think the best comparison for this would be that it's a little bit of a modern Haruhi series. So it features these 2 characters that become friends because the girl is very quirky and she has an eyeball that lets her see extraordinary things in the universe. So this normal boy and this girl who can see extraordinary things go around town, and they essentially witness a lot of strange occurrences. It is very Haruhi in that aspect. But I think both of the characters are very likable. For example, one of the things they witness is an upside down version of the world. Another thing they witness is like a vending machine that produces really tasty food. Another thing they witness is an invisible baseball. Very like low stakes, but also really fun and quirky, weird stuff that makes the world feel more magical. This one is just starting, but I have read the entirety of what's out so far, and I think it is very promising. This is kind of a low stakes, feel good, fun adventure type of series. The next one is Ruri Dragon. I had actually pretty low expectations of this going into it because I really thought this would not be my kind of thing, even though it is a very popular series. It originally ran in Weekly Shonen Jump, but then it switched over to Jump Plus due to like the artist's health and not being able to continually release on a weekly schedule, which I think is completely fine. I actually do consider this series to be a Jump Plus series and not a Weekly Shonen Jump series. Yeah, Ruri Dragon, I think everyone's probably heard the premise before by now, but it's essentially about a young girl who one day wakes up and discovers that she has horns. And the series follows her as she goes through changes related to growing up and develops more dragon traits and basically goes to school and makes friends and tries to live a normal life while occasionally maybe breathing fire in class. I think there is a lot of merit to this series. This is what I would consider a very solid and important shonen series. It's very clear that this series is kind of targeted toward school-aged children, and it's in a way that's very well done and also beneficial to its target audience, because obviously Ruri is a dragon in the series and dragons don't actually exist. But you know something that does exist? Children going through changes as they grow up, right? Whether that be puberty or other types of things. And it kind of, through this cute dragon girl, it encourages people to kind of be kind toward others, toward your classmates. It has a very good message. And yes, it can still just be about dragons, but that doesn't mean that the reader can't take something else out of it, right? Any series that has a message encouraging kindness and hope is always important, and right now perhaps even more so. Yeah, very highly recommend this. It is a very cute slice of life school coming of age series. The next one is called Home at the Horizon. This is easily one of my favorite series that I found in this complete magazine read through, and it kind of surprised me because I was not expecting it. But this is also a coming of age high school slice of life Ayashike manga. It is about a guy who helps his grandpa run a bathhouse after his parents have died, and about his half-brother who comes to live with him because he has nowhere else to go. I think this is very sweet. It definitely has some kind of relaxing symbolism about taking a bath to wash away your stress and your struggles that you're having in life. And it talks a lot about like finding a place where you belong. It's about found family and kindness, figuring out how to communicate with others, but it's done in like a very down-to-earth way. The art style for the series is pretty simple, but I think it is very solid, and it definitely could be very beneficial to kids that are learning how to grow up, or even I'd say young adults. It just feels very relaxing. Even if you just read one chapter, I think that's really all you need to get a vibe for the series, and I would recommend it. I'm always a sucker for Ayashike stuff, and this is a very solid Ayashike series. The next one is MARRIAGETOXIN. I have talked about this before on the channel as well, so I'll keep it brief, but this is a harem series that is a battle action rom-com where not only is the male lead attractive and capable and a good guy, but all the girls are also very pretty and have personalities of their own. There's a little bit of a twist to this series, but before we see the ending and how it goes, I don't really want to comment on it because I'm not 100% sure. But if you like battle action and you like rom-coms, this is very cute. There is definitely a little bit of quirkiness to it, a little bit of horniness too. Like, it's not super horny, but sometimes there's like there's a little bit of something there. It's definitely not for everyone, but I think even like the battles alone are worth reading it for because the art's very well done. It is a good battle series, and I do like the majority of the comedy of the series as well. It's just the romance that I'm a little bit scared of because he does have a good amount of chemistry with everyone, and I just hope that the romance plotline wraps up in a way that's satisfying. Alright, and last series of the video, by far my favorite series that I've read for this challenge, for this video, Centuria. For some reason, before starting this, I thought that this was the Centaur manga. No, this is not the Centaur manga. That one's just called Centaurs. I believe the title is a reference to 100, which is a very relevant number in the series, but it's essentially kind of a cross between Vinland Saga and Chainsaw Man if Fujimoto wasn't completely batshit unhinged. This is like the good ending of Chainsaw Man, essentially, mixed with a little bit of Vinland Saga. I think there's people who would describe this as a dark fantasy. To me, it's not that dark. If the dark fantasy tag kind of scares you off, don't let it. I think there are some darker aspects to the series, but overall, it will protect your heart. Just like Jay will protect your heart. This is very good. I think the art style is very appealing and the art is very solid. The fights are very good, but the heart of this series is the found family and the connections that broken people form with each other. And I think this is a series that will reward your kind nature in reading it. There are some body horror and eldritch inspired entities in this series, but even so, I wouldn't necessarily consider it like super dark in a depressing way or anything. I have like this one page screenshotted on my phone because my mouth just completely fell open, but like this is one of the bad guys. She says this like on the page. Quote, "Let me have my way with you. There's nothing I love more than making a prideful woman like you cry out in bed." And then it actually happens. Like not on the page, but it's not straight up bait. The characters actually develop their relationship in this way. Is that not generational? Toxic Yuri? There's just so much interesting stuff currently going on in this series, and I am greatly anticipating where it's gonna go. I think this is a series I would easily consider one of my favorite series currently ongoing at the moment. I will say I am a tiny bit worried. There have been a couple major character deaths so far in the series, but two of them have been brought back from the dead in some way. And at first I was like, oh, this is going to be like an interesting angsty twist. And then the second character got brought back in a way. I don't know what hair color they have, maybe like amber hair, but that character. And then I was like, hopefully this doesn't take away from the severity of that character's death. I'm okay if it's used in like an angsty way, but if it's used in like a non-angsty way, I might be a little hesitant because I really liked the original death of that character and how much impact that had on the narrative. But regardless, every single character in the series, for the most part, is extremely lovable. And I think if you're looking for a new shonen series to kind of get invested in, and you don't mind a little bit of hopium in your manga, definitely give Centuria a read. It is just unquestionably good. We have reached the end of the magazine. This is all the series rated. I'm gonna reword this to be a little bit less harsh. I do think there's a lot of merit to a digital manga magazine and how it's able to host more series, give artists more freedom, and also it even has a category that's not translated in English, but a category for new mangaka, like rookies, essentially, to show off their skills and try to serialize something in their indies line in Japan. I think that there is a lot of merit to that. But because like I'm not a manga tuber or anything, reading manga is not my job. I have a very limited amount of time every day and every week to read manga, and therefore I only want to read the best stuff. And obviously the best stuff to me is going to be different from the best stuff to you, and that is part of the charm of having different tastes than someone else. Wouldn't it be boring if we all simply like the exact same stuff, right? I think one of the things I learned from making this video is Jump Plus catalog is very extensive and also highly overwhelming at times. I think this is a magazine where it's definitely a-okay to just read the highlights. Like, it is all right. I did go through in the process of this video and read at least one chapter from every single one of the 70 series that I found, even the ones that were not translated in English. I went on the Japanese website for Shonen Jump Plus and at least flip through one chapter in the Japanese just to at least look at the artwork. So yeah, I did lose some brain cells doing that, but we also did find some really good stuff. Hero Organization, Hatori, Ruri Dragon, Home at the Horizon, and Centuria, I would definitely consider reading weekly. In fact, I think Centuria and Home at the Horizon would absolutely be added to my weekly rotation if/when these come out in English as physicals. I will probably collect them physically, especially Centuria. I've already added 2 series to my physical collection so far this year, 2 very good series, and I don't regret it at all, but also my shelf space is limited, so I do have to be kind of picky about what I collect physically. If you're looking for stuff to read, feel free to check out anything in the numbered categories. Just bear in mind some of the stuff I said about them. For example, like if you really want to read Solo Leveling X Kagurabachi, then absolutely give Empyreal Cabinet a shot. But if that's not the kind of stuff you feel like you would enjoy, then maybe steer clear, right? I'm not sure what the next complete manga magazine read through is going to be. I'm definitely going to take a little bit of a break from it, but the magazine that I originally planned to do next, Shonen Sunday, I'm gonna put on the back burner a little bit because that magazine's publisher is Shogakukan, and if you've been online recently, yeah, there's some stuff going on with the publisher, so we're gonna put that in the back for now. I do have some other video ideas that I want to focus on in the meantime anyways. I hopefully haven't rambled on for too long, but I will see you soon, I believe, because there are a couple of series in Weekly Shonen Jump that are ending very shortly, and it will be a lot of fun to see what new series comes out of that. Thanks for watching. Do not read all the series in this magazine, but do read some of the highlights if they sounded interesting to you. I will see you next time. Make sure to stay safe out there.